Africa is home to more large predators capable of genuinely preying on a person than almost anywhere else on Earth. Animals that, unlike most modern wildlife dangers built on accident and proximity, have documented histories of actively stalking and killing people as prey, rather than simply defending themselves in a chance encounter. That distinction matters. Most dangerous animal encounters anywhere in the world come down to surprise, territory, or self-defense. A startled animal reacting to an unexpected threat rather than treating a person as a meal. This list is different, built specifically around species with real, confirmed cases of deliberately hunting humans, a much narrower and more serious category than simple danger. Here are 7 of them, counting down, and the one that ends up on top is responsible for more confirmed predatory human deaths than the rest of this list combined. A confirmed case of an animal hunting a person as prey is a genuinely different category from the far more common pattern of dangerous wildlife encounters most of the world actually experiences, where an animal reacts defensively to being surprised, cornered, or threatened, rather than approaching a person with the deliberate intent to kill and consume them. Africa's biodiversity, its enormous rural population living in close daily contact with wild habitat, and its long, carefully documented history of wildlife research combine to produce verified cases of this specific, more serious category of danger than almost anywhere else on the planet, which is exactly why this particular list draws so heavily from the African continent rather than spreading across the wider world the way a more general danger ranking might. Number 7 is the African wild dog, and this entry exists specifically to correct a common assumption because despite being a highly coordinated, formidable pack predator capable of bringing down prey, many times the size of any individual dog, coursing through open bush in relentless, tightly organized hunting parties that can maintain a pursuit far longer than almost any other African predator, confirmed cases of African wild dogs actively hunting humans are almost non-existent. The species is naturally wary of people, tends to avoid human settlements entirely rather than approach them, and has never developed anything resembling the pattern of deliberate human predation documented in several other animals on this list. It earns a place here less because of any genuine threat and more because its reputation as a fearsome, highly social pack hunter leads people to assume a danger to humans that the actual record simply does not support. A reputation built more on the animal's hunting efficiency against other prey than on any documented history of turning that efficiency toward people. Number 6 is the African rock python, a large constrictor capable, in extremely rare and well-documented individual cases, of actually killing and consuming an adult human, one of the only snake species on the continent physically large enough to attempt it at all, its powerful coiling musculature theoretically sufficient to subdue prey, many times its own body mass, given enough time and the right circumstances. These cases remain exceptionally uncommon, confirmed only a handful of times in the historical record, and each one has drawn intense scientific scrutiny precisely because a confirmed human predation event by a snake is such an unusual thing to document with certainty. They are genuine, verified instances of a snake treating a person as prey rather than as a threat to be escaped from, which distinguishes this species sharply from the far more common pattern of defensive snake bites that dominate most snake-related danger elsewhere on the continent, where the animal is almost always trying to get away, rather than trying to eat what it just struck. The rarity of these incidents keeps the species low on this list, but their authenticity keeps it on the list at all, a genuine predator rather than a defensive animal caught in the wrong circumstance. Number 5 is the great white shark, patrolling the cold, nutrient-rich waters off South Africa's Cape Coast, one of the most reliable great white shark aggregation zones anywhere in the world, drawing researchers from across the globe specifically to study this population's behavior up close, tagging and tracking individual sharks across seasons to understand exactly what draws them to this particular stretch of coastline year after year. While most shark encounters with people are now understood by researchers as investigatory bites rather than deliberate predation, a means of identifying an unfamiliar object in the water rather than a targeted hunting strategy, the sheer size and power of a full-grown great white make any serious bite a potentially fatal event regardless of the animal's original intent. The Cape region has recorded a genuine documented history of serious and fatal attacks over the decades, and surfers and swimmers in specific stretches of this coastline share water with an animal capable of preying on large marine mammals, including seals, a prey profile that puts a person paddling on a surfboard uncomfortably close to a silhouette. The shark may briefly mistake for something it actually intends to eat. The line between an investigatory bite and something closer to actual predation has never been fully settled by the researchers who study this population most closely. If you are watching this from anywhere in Africa, drop your country and which animal on this list actually concerns you most where you live. People sharing land directly with these predators tend to understand the real risk far better than any general account assembled from outside it, having learned through generations of direct experience which species genuinely pose a hunting threat and which ones simply carry a reputation larger than their actual documented behavior justifies. Number 4 is the spotted hyena, an animal whose reputation as a mere scavenger badly undersells what a coordinated hyena clan is actually capable of doing when hunting on its own terms, rather than picking over another predator's leftovers. A misconception that has shaped popular culture's view of the species for generations, despite decades of field research proving otherwise. Spotted hyenas are accomplished, pack hunters in their own right, running down and killing the majority of what they eat rather than scavenging it, a hunting success rate that in some studied populations actually exceeds that of lions, sharing the same territory, and in several documented regions, particularly parts of Malawi and Mozambique, hyenas have been connected to a genuine pattern of predation on people, disproportionately targeting individuals sleeping outdoors or in poorly secured shelter at night, when the species is most active and least likely to be deterred by the presence of a nearby settlement. This is not opportunistic scavenging of the already dead. In the documented cases driving this entry, hyenas have been confirmed dragging living victims from their sleeping places, entering compounds, and even structurally weak housing under cover of darkness, a pattern serious enough that some affected communities have altered nighttime housing practices, specifically in response, reinforcing walls and doorways in ways that would never have been considered necessary against a purely scavenging animal. Number 3 is the leopard, a solitary ambush predator whose stealth and adaptability across an enormous range of African habitat, from dense forest to arid scrubland to the fringes of human settlement itself, has produced a documented history of individual man-eating leopards, animals that, once having successfully preyed on a person, sometimes continue targeting people as a viable and comparatively easy food source compared with more dangerous or elusive natural prey that requires far more effort and risk to bring down successfully. These cases tend to cluster around specific individual animals rather than representing typical leopard behavior broadly, often linked to an aging or injured individual no longer capable of reliably taking down faster, stronger prey, and once identified, a confirmed man-eating leopard becomes a priority target for wildlife authorities precisely because the behavior, once established in a single animal, has been shown to persist and escalate rather than resolve on its own over time. Number 2 is the lion, the animal most culturally associated with African predatory danger and the one carrying the single most famous documented case of sustained human predation in the historical record, a pride of lions in Kenya that killed and consumed a substantial number of railway workers over a period of months during the construction of a rail line through their territory, systematically pulling men from tents and work camps at night despite repeated efforts by the construction crews to defend against them, a case so well documented it has been studied by biologists and retold in books and film ever since, still cited today as one of the clearest examples on record of lions developing a sustained pattern of viewing people specifically as prey rather than as a threat to avoid. Lions remain responsible for a steady, ongoing toll of confirmed predatory attacks across parts of their range today, particularly in regions where livestock herding brings people into close and repeated contact with resident prides, herders, and their families moving through the exact territory a pride considers its own hunting ground. And unlike many animals whose danger comes from surprise or self-defense, a documented man-eating lion is understood by researchers to be actively, deliberately hunting people as prey once the behavior has taken hold in an individual or a pride, a distinction that separates it from most large predator encounters, which tend to end the moment the animal realizes what it is dealing with, rather than continuing the pursuit. Which brings this list to number 1, and the animal responsible for more confirmed predatory human deaths across Africa than every other species on this list combined is not the lion and not the leopard, but the Nile crocodile, an ambush predator whose method of hunting puts it in direct, repeated, and often invisible contact with people across a huge stretch of the continent every single day, a fact that surprises almost everyone who assumes the continent's most feared big cats must automatically top any real predatory ranking. Nile crocodiles hunt from concealment at the water's edge, remaining motionless and almost entirely submerged until prey, human or otherwise, comes close enough to the water to be seized in a single explosive strike, a hunting method that offers almost no warning to the person involved and relies entirely on patience rather than pursuit. Because so much of daily rural African life still depends on rivers and lakes for washing, bathing, fishing, and collecting water, the crocodile's hunting grounds overlap constantly and unavoidably with the exact places millions of people are required to be every single day, an overlap no other predator on this list comes close to matching in sheer frequency, since neither a lion nor a leopard requires daily human traffic through its hunting territory the way a river or a lake shoreline does. The species is large enough and powerful enough to take a full-grown adult without difficulty, dragging prey beneath the surface in a rolling motion that has become one of the most recognizable and feared hunting techniques in the entire animal kingdom. And its ambush strategy, combined with the sheer number of people forced into regular contact with crocodile-inhabited water, produces a confirmed annual death toll that dwarfs every other entry on this countdown. Not because the Nile crocodile is more aggressive than a lion or a leopard, but because its hunting method and its habitat leave people with almost no opportunity to see the danger coming before it is already too late. That is the pattern worth sitting with across this entire list. The animals people picture first when they imagine being hunted in Africa, the lion pacing the savanna, the leopard moving silently through the brush, are real and genuinely dangerous, backed by documented histories that earn every bit of the fear they generate, but neither one comes close to matching the confirmed toll of an animal that spends most of its life submerged and motionless, waiting at the exact spot where daily survival forces people to keep returning again and again, day after day, with no real alternative available. The gap between the predator people picture first and the predator actually responsible for the highest confirmed toll runs through this entire countdown, and it is widest of all at the very top, where a reptile most people would never think to rank above a lion turns out to be the animal quietly responsible for more documented human deaths than any other predator on the entire continent. Every predator on this list represents a genuine, documented danger, not exaggeration or myth, and every one of them deserves to be understood on the actual terms of the risk it poses, rather than on reputation alone, a distinction this list has tried to hold on to from the African wild dog at the bottom, wrongly feared despite an almost clean record, all the way up to the crocodile at the top, correctly feared, but for reasons that rarely make it into the popular imagination the way a lion's roar or a leopard's silhouette does. If you want more of these overlooked global patterns brought into the light, subscribe and stay close, because the next entry on a list like this might already be closer to the water than anyone watching expects.